Critical thinking skills are some of the most fundamental knowledge required for solving critical issues as well as for making decisive choices. You utilize them on a regular basis, and as you carry on exploiting them and making use of them, you will also strive to enhance them in the process. For critical thinking prowess does not stay at a certain place. It is like the finely honed and sharpened knife that distinguishes reality from fiction, truth from deception, and authentic from misinformation. And the best part is we all use critical thinking every single day. Furthermore, since I myself and all of you in this class are in our third year now, our academic journey necessitates a higher level of critical thinking ability. Moreover, it demands that all of us assess our information and examine a wide range of issues with the ability to give in-depth thought and reflection. For I am willing to say that critical thinking plays a role in determining whether we fail or succeed academically, in career, and or in life. Surprisingly, there are many definitions to the term critical thinking, and as a result, some people are taken aback as to which meaning is the most suitable. Based on our course book, we got to comprehend that many experts on this area of study have defined the term differently and accordingly to their philosophy and attitude towards life. Therefore, this tells us that there is no exact definition as to what critical thinking is, and there is no such thing as a right or wrong meaning. Under those circumstances, there is not just one correct way to think about an issue. For all of us are able to improve our own thinking if we are able to identify the reasons that cause that problem, the conclusion that we can draw from it, as well as the assumption that may be hidden underneath the surface. However, a good critical thinking is more than meets the eye. It requires more than just reasons, more than just conclusions, and more than just assumptions. It needs clarification and interpreting expressions and ideas, which is what our group focuses on in our presentation as of this moment. The way we give reasons needs to come through some sort of clarification, because the meaning of a claim made or a term used can be vague, which refers to the unclear meaning, imprecise, which talks about the lack of detailed information, or ambiguous, which describes the quality of being open to more than one interpretation. As previously stated above, it is not enough to just be reasonably clear what reasons, conclusions, and assumptions are being addressed, but we also need to be able to clarify and interpret them in certain situations when necessary. Our chapter 5, which is about clarifying and interpreting expressions and ideas, concentrates on clarifying an idea or meaning skillfully of an argument, a statement, or a situation. With that being said, our first presenter has raised a few examples regarding clarification. In order to clarify an idea or a purpose of an issue, we first must ask ourselves whether it is clear or not. Does it lack more context or information? Or do they need more supporting details and examples? As a consequence, identifying what problems and understanding the exact meaning of an issue or an argument is very crucial, especially when we try to fully comprehend what is actually being said. However, in this second point, we are going to look at another way we can clarify the information, and that is to know who our audience is. Before we go further, let us understand the keyword audience. In this particular context, the term audience refers to a group of people which we explain our information to, but understanding what we say or not will have to depend on their background knowledge. Indeed, to clarify a meaning or example to someone, we need to know who they are, where they are from, what is their range of education or knowledge, their expertise or experience on that area. Because by knowing who they are, we will be able to simplify and exemplify the definition of whatever information we want to relay to them. In order to clarify what I'm trying to say here, let us look at one of the examples in our chapter. Explaining what a polygon is to a child. In this case, you already know that the audience is a child. By definition, a child refers to a young person who is generally in the state or age of development. He or she does not have a strong basic knowledge or experience regarding geometry yet. So if you try to explain them by using technical words or mathematical terminologies, it only adds more doubts and questions to their brains. In contrast, providing that you use a picture as a means to demonstrate the term polygon to a kid, perhaps that kid finds it more convenient to grasp the term polygon in no time by recognizing how or what a polygon looks like. To further make all of you comprehend, I will take a piece of instances from the story Letters from Thailand. So in the story Letter from Thailand, the author used a lot of Thai words such as se or pakauma. However, the author must have been well aware that the readers are not only Thai people, but the readers can also come from any countries who do not know Thai language or its culture at all. She understood that her audience, or rather her readers, can be of any nationalities. Hence, she gave explanations or meanings to each of those Thai words at the bottom of the page so that the readers from all over the world can understand what the words mean in spite of their language barrier. After analyzing these two examples, we can safely say that if we want our ideas to be reasonably presented to our audience with clarity, we need to understand who they are first so that we can decide whether we should add more context to what we really mean or our audience is knowledgeable enough to comprehend it. Besides knowing our audience and understanding the problems of an issue, there are other possible sources of clarification. Firstly, you can refer to a dictionary definition. There will be a time that you come across a word or phrase that you have no idea as to what it means. And the way to solve this is that you can use the context around it to figure it out. However, if you want to be clear of the word you want to find out, and not based on your guessing skill, then a dictionary is the best way to go. So let us look at a statement from the story Romeo and Juliet. In the city of Verona in northern Italy there lived, during the early 14th century, two noble families, the Montagues and the Capulets. These two families had been bitter enemies for generations, and the enmity still continued. Now, if you look closely, you see that the highlighted word is the word I want to figure it out. But I have no idea what it is. I can look at the context around it to help me. I see the phrase bitter enemies, and I also see the word continued. Now, with these, I can guess that the word enmity might refer to some sort of argument. However, if I check the word in a dictionary, it says that enmity means bad blood, conflict, or hostility, which makes more sense than just the word argument. Another source of clarification is a definition explanation from an authority in the field, reporting specialized usage. Suppose you are reading an article or journal done by a PhD or an expert. You are bound to run into a very technical word that you sometimes can't even find in a dictionary at all. This is when you have no choice but to consult with the authority or the expert who used that word, or you can check the meaning by looking in textbooks or works of reference as well. I will take one example from the book to explain what I mean here. So, explain to friends who are not studying critical thinking what it means to say that conclusion of some arguments necessarily follows or does not necessarily follow from the reasons given. Of course, based on this example, your friends won't be able to find what necessarily follow or do not necessarily follow actually refers to in a dictionary. And that is when they will have to come to you, who actually have knowledge on critical thinking, to help them. You can explain them by saying, a conclusion of an argument necessarily follows from its reasons means that if the reasons are true, then the conclusion must be true as well. You can also proceed to give them another example to follow. If you practice playing basketball every day, you will get better and better. This will give them a thought. This will tell them that if they keep practicing, their conclusion is that they get better. Thus, the conclusion agrees with the reason, and that is also what the phrase necessarily follows means. Last but not least is deciding on a meaning, stipulating a meaning. Besides using a meaning from a dictionary or consulting with an authority or an expert, there are special occasions where we feel like there is no choice but to declare or create another meaning of the word so that it fits into our idea and purpose of a discussion or argument. Let me give you an example based on real-life situation. Suppose you wanted to investigate the number of populations living in poverty in Cambodia. How would you define the word poverty so that it is suitable for this circumstance? Generally, the term poverty is defined as the income level from employment that is so low that basic human needs can't be met. However, since you are talking about a developing country that is Cambodia, you might want to make some adjustments to the word poverty so that it fits into our discussion. Since our society is different from that of other countries, there might be more than just financial issues that consider poverty or contribute to having poverty, and that there could be other factors involved. Therefore, you want to make it clear what you mean by the word poverty in a special or certain context, which is also why using a general meaning is not always reliable. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has come to the end of my part, and my friend Volek will tell all of us more ways of clarifying terms and ideas. Thank you so much.